Okay, Jeremy here, Jeeps Unlimited, partsbreakers.com. Hopefully you're picking me up here. I got a hoodie on. It's a little chilly out here today. We've had a hard winter. We had snow starting about Halloween, and actually one of the reasons we moved to Grand Junction was to get out of the weather. Thankfully, they don't use salt still. I keep thinking one of these years they might, but they say it's never gonna happen here. So that's good, and that's good because we sell rust-free parts, and we can get them from our area and the surrounding states that don't use that stuff on the roads, and get some pretty clean stuff, as you can see with this YJ here. I'm not gonna, everybody always kind of over the year, I've been doing this for 18 years, so I get all the, well, why are you parting that one out? It's really clean, Well, we part them out because that's what we do. We try to buy them with unwrecked, rust-free. That's something else is wrong and with them, and in this case they had done an engine swap to a different year and didn't do the right swap, so gave up on the project. But still a solid Jeep, and some of the parts have sold on it, but the tub, the frame, it doesn't look like they cut the frame when they did the motor swap on this particular one. So that's going to have a nice 6-cylinder frame finally, because we've been completely out of those forever. I have, I think, one 4-cylinder left, but tubs have gotten extremely difficult to get on these guys. I say that to everybody, and I don't think they take me serious, and they call a couple weeks later, and then I'm out. And when I'm out, I'm usually out for a couple months. I used to get YJs in all the time. I can find YJs all over the place, but I can't find rust-free YJs, and that's really what this guy, at least we hope, is. So let me explain a little bit. And, I'm doing this video partly for a couple customers that have called, so you may have heard this spiel. But this is called what I consider pre-dismantle. So we can obviously see stuff in like the windshield frame here, right? So that windshield frame is obviously not a grade A because of this. Now, this isn't too bad. It's just mainly on the surface, it feels like. But we might get into that windshield frame and see something worse. I don't really do pre-dismantle pricing with other parts, but I do them with our frames and our tubs. And it allows the customer to take a little bit of a chance, although there's not much of a chance, because if it ends up being worse than we think it is, we can cancel it out or put it towards a different tub or whatnot. So there really is no risk involved on your part, other than we know we have money lined up on it, so we're giving you a little bit of break for that. And when we get them fully dismantled, we usually increase them if they're, and not always, it depends on what we find. If we comes out to be, worse than we originally thought, then they either stay the same or they decrease down. So that's how we do our pricing when it comes to something like this. So, and that's part of the reason I do videos on YJs. And the other reason is because they sell so fast. Oftentimes they're sold before we even get them broke down. All right. So with that said, there is a possibility on this one to see rust. With this being minimal, I doubt it, but there is a possibility on this lip of this tub. I'll show you a red one here in a minute. This video is going to be about 15 minutes long. To give you an example, if you're looking at a Jeep and you're wanting to know possibly where to look for rust, this is an area that you can't really do much about. I mean, a seller is probably not going to allow you to fold the windshield frame down. It's actually not super easy to do on a YJ. It does take a little time, and oftentimes these guys are seized up on them, and so they don't fold down easily, or they'll crack here. But nonetheless, this is a part that you won't know until you kind of get it. And this has got some nice grime and dirt, which is actually what I like to see. You can kind of see it flake off there. It's greasy. Grease is great, and it protects and allows water to not necessarily penetrate things. So this is probably going to be good under here. As far as the tub goes, the windshield frame, is debatable. We'll have to see how that ends up being. Okay, so that's one area that you're not gonna be able to see if you're buying a Jeep, or if you're looking at as a pre-dismantle right now. But again, if that did come out to be rotten, that would knock this tub way down in our grading. And unfortunately, we would lose out on the Jeep more than likely, but that's the risk we take when we buy these things. And as a buyer of something, oh, look, there's the seat I was looking for. The other area that's not going to be visible is going to be, partly because it's got carpet in it, but is going to be behind the carpet or underneath the carpet, underneath the seat belt, and underneath the roll bar here. And really that only can be checked one of two ways. One is the inside way, which is obviously not going to happen if you're looking at the Jeep. The second way is here, and this is another area, unless they've pulled their liners out, which likely have not. If the liner's still in it, you're not gonna be able to see this area. So this is another area that, especially in the Midwest, East Coast, they love to rust. I don't have any inkling that this is gonna be that way, but there's always a possibility. So, and for you to look, that's an area to look at as well. Again, you're probably not gonna get a seller if you're looking at buying a Jeep that allows you to start pulling parts. I wouldn't, you know, not because I was trying to hide, but you know, it doesn't always go back together the same way you get it pulled sometimes. And something like this is a fairly clean Jeep overall. So, so we're looking at, obviously this tub is pre-dismantle, and YGs have gotten hard enough that eventually we'll probably start raising our pricing. We've been at the same pricing for the last 10 years on tubs. You know, it's one of those things that we either stop doing YJs or TJs if we can't get them cheap enough, or you know, or go up on pricing, essentially is what it comes down to. So this area here, and I don't see much here, but this is another area. It does feel a little bit raised. I don't see, there's a kind of an area you can see in here, and this is common on YJs, another area, and I see this actually even on our Jeeps out here sometimes. I had a Jeep recently, so it's got, the fact that it's got liner and sound dampeners and all this stuff in here, so a little bit of surface there. Let's see. Ugh, yuck. Got a mouthful of something. This is good and bad when you see stuff like this. If they've had the top off or have had any leaks in the windshield frame, it can sit here and easily starts getting a little bit here. So this looks solid. There's no holes here, and I'll get up from underneath and show you just to make sure that this indeed is surface. It's pretty smooth. I don't see any metal coming off or anything. I mean, it's definitely got some oxidized metal, and it's a little damp. But if you're looking at buying a Jeep, I would definitely pull carpet regardless of what they want, because it's easy to do, and then you can usually put it back. So I'm gonna see if I can rip. This is good carpet, so I don't want to tear it all the way down there. Let's see. And this is partly screwed in up here, so, but if I can just get it a little bit. And this is what I do with our pre-dismantle. So we have it priced at $3 right now, but if I do this video and come up with something else, I might lower it. Usually I don't raise them. I usually know kind of what we're looking at when we price them in, so super hard to see. I think I got the screen a little dusty. And let's see, focus. No, it's not really focused. Okay, so maybe a little bit down through here. I don't see anything that's super dark, so there's a little bit better. Okay, yeah, so here we go. So we're seeing, I think, a little color actually, maybe peeking through. Let's see if I can get it to go back there. And crap. So right, let's see if I can show you here. Right there, it appears there's a little bit of light coming through there. And that would mean that there's probably a hole or something bleeding through somewhere. I don't see any holes here. So it might be underneath. It could just be a screw hole, maybe a crack around here. So I think for now, we're still gonna be on this one. This one might be one of those tubs that somebody wants to really see it, you know, wait on it, take the chance on it. If we do that, it doesn't necessarily mean the cost is going to go up, but it can if we don't lock it in. Okay, because usually what happens, like I said, there's probably 9 people that are like solid, I want a tub as soon as you find one, that are waiting. So still going to be right around 3 on this guy as far as it being complete and we get a deposit on it. And then again, if we find something that, you know, comes out to be major or minor even. See, even the corners on this one are clean. A little bit of surface here, but they're not smacked in, which is another way I grade them. I mean, a B grade, for example, will have corners kind of dinged up. Lower rockers, this one's the Sahara, so it's got you will have the screw holes for these molded flares, which are factory, but they usually only did those on the Sahara. You don't see those typically on the sports. Okay, and then I'll get underneath it and just give you kind of a bird's eye view up through here. Okay, torque pockets are gonna be all the areas that are bolt through bracket, frame bracket to torque pocket, lower bottom, and the TJs did this better. I don't know if they even consider these torque pockets, but essentially it's a welded nut that goes up in here, and in some areas they're easy to repair if you had to. This one is a boxing area, so it's a little bit more difficult. And again, as a buyer of a Jeep, you're not gonna really be able to see this other than tall tale signs. This one's actually really clean around it. There's no cracking, there's no rust around it, so we're gonna assume that these are in good. There's a torque pocket there for you, again, good. The other thing I see sometimes is if they replace these with a body lift or some of those energy suspension bushing kits, they're hard plastic. They're terrible for Wranglers. They push, they don't isolate enough vibration, and eventually they push right through the tub and collapse the tub. So that's a warning usually when I'm looking at these. The bushings look pretty clean overall, so I'm thinking these are gonna be pretty nice. This one's really easy if it does break, and sometimes these screws break, but you can reach, you can see my hand, I can actually reach all the way up to the welded nut on this one. And that one I see break every so often, and it's just mainly because the way it is up here. You can see it right there. So super accessible. This all looks really nice and clean down here. The belly pan looks like it's gonna be nice. The frame hopefully will be nice and whatnot on here. And then of course you got mounts you're not gonna be able to see. You got one up in here. You can kind of see this one. And but the ones you can't see are gonna be, well, you actually can't right there. And on a TJ, they're completely covered, but there's two. So there's 10 mounts, 10 what I call torque pockets on the bottom of a YJ that are all, you know, if you're gonna be doing a frame swap, tub swap, are areas that can be concerning if you're looking at doing something like that in your Jeep. If they're bad there, or your bolts are breaking on every single one, or not being pulled, spinning, whatnot, can usually mean you got something going on up in them. So this side again, nice and clean, flat, just like we want to see on them. Okay, so this side, exactly where I was thinking on the other side, nice and smooth all the way across. So, and again on the other side, it's just raised just over so slightly there. So might be something to look at. Definitely look at it when we get it completely pulled down. If you're needing some doors, these ones are up for grabs, although there's a few people that are kind of waiting on them. The cylinder lock has popped out on this guy, but otherwise, beautiful doors. Doors rust here, and they're hard to fix here, but I mean, you can get a little bit of fix if they're not too bad, but I see this when they get real bad. And then if you see these cracked in here, okay, this one's actually probably been repaired. I bet it's cracked, it's a panel under, but it's common, so I wouldn't freak out about that. They crack all of them, even up to the 06s. All right, so that was probably longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to show you briefly. This one is gonna be probably a B grade, is what I'm thinking. Again, windshield frame is kind of a tall tale that we definitely might find some stuff in this one, but won't know until we get it. The gasket's almost entirely gone, so depending on, you know, where it was used and whatnot. Still was a Southwest Jeep, but it's hit or miss whether this, you know, just because the windshield frame's not great doesn't mean the tub is gonna have issues, but it is something I like to look at on them. Doors are actually solid on these, but they're incomplete. They do have the glass in them, but the scrubbers are missing. The handle's missing, obviously, cylinder. But for a rust-free door and straight, those are actually really clean. The tub itself, okay, cowl area looks great, lower rocker is great. This is the area that might have had a little bit of body work done on it. I'm not entirely sure. Definitely looks like there could be some filler here. We have a 4,500 pound or 4,500 PSI Hotsy that will, it's not gonna sandblast it, but it will push through weak spots. So we'll hit this pretty hard and see if we can, if it's just paint flaking off, that's fine. Might have had a ding on it, who knows. It's got a liner in it, so it's hard to see up in there. But we'll have this tub probably priced at $2,500 pre-dismantle, and then it'll either go up or down from there, depending on what it looks like. This is where, when you see this usually indicates filler. Actually, this tub is going to be priced at $2,000. I think is what we're doing on this one, pre-dismantle. So it's hard to say on this tub. It could be, it definitely has filler in this corner, and how much is hard to say. But it might, I did one just a few weeks ago that had, the whole corner had some filler in it back here. And actually when we got it all said and done and got all the filler, because we were able to pound out a lot of that filler, it actually wasn't that bad. So they scored a good tub on that one, saved some money on it. By doing it that way. Otherwise, this looks like a very solid option. The rest of the Jeep is beautiful. The floors, nice clean paint on everything. Let's see, through that. Driver's side, same thing. It'll be a little dirty. Here's that area. That area I couldn't get very close to over there. This one's real nice. So this is a good example. My A's doesn't happen as often on, but my C's and B's, I often lock in pricing on these. This is the area underneath. Let's see if it's got liners. Yep. See? Oh, sorry. It's got a liner here, so can't see that area. But my C's, more often than not, are something that we price low, and then we get in there and peel them, and they end up being something that we could have easily got $5, $6, $7, sometimes even $1,000 more on. So definitely consider this tub, especially with what you're doing. And I'll give it a little bit more thorough look and get it priced at what it is. If you're watching this video in a few weeks, these tubs have probably either A, sold, or B, they're already dismantled. And if they're already dismantled, the pricing that I mentioned in this video is not going to be applied to them. So whatever they're listed for on the website will be the price they will be sold for. Okay, so just keep that in mind on as far as how we do things. Now here's the rest of our yard. Give you a little bit of ideas on it. Okay, 7 acres out here, and good portion, if not all, our Jeeps. We got a little bit of Chevy stuff we do occasionally for some swaps we work on, but and then we have an upper yard as well. We got quite a few stuff up there as well, but none of our Wranglers don't last long enough, so they stay down here. Help Jerry here. Those usually come off for whatever reason, that fork, because it's so much thicker. It'll want to wobble, so you might have to go a little low to the ground when you're carrying it out there, but it goes in the back if you want to put it out there. This one's sold.
Oh, I don't need wash.
It's already washed, and it already sold. So we can put it anywhere. It's gonna go on my load when I go out east. All right, last one, and this one is pretty much dismantled. Again, I'll based off what we've sold stuff for in the past. That one that I had at Crunch Corner on went for $2,500. So this one's probably going to be $3,000 on this guy. And I mentioned earlier about screw holes. This is them here. So they had a speaker they had mounted. So not terrible, but something that you should see. It's a bummer when people do stuff like this. I know everybody does it. I've probably done it before on my old trucks and stuff, but it does suck to have to go in and fix something that could have been done a little bit better and cleaner. But it is a Jeep, and that's what you find. So obviously got fuel tanks in them right now, so I can't see down to the bottom. But before I loaded this up, it smells like fire. Can't figure that out. Before I loaded it up, I had that. I haven't actually seen the bottom of this one myself, and it hasn't been washed yet. So so we will get this one priced as well, and we'll go from there. I think that's it. 303-666-9020. Partsbreakers.com is our website. Here in the next couple days, these tubs, well, this tub specifically will be listed. Those ones are probably going to take us a week or two to get completely torn down. We'll bring in our labor on our weekends to do those, and go from there. All right, I appreciate all your time. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you're looking at a Jeep out there, this is a good example of a customer's LJ, which we do have some LJ tubs. If you're interested in doing one of those, you can take your TJ and convert it into an LJ. It's not too difficult, especially if you get the tub. The tub is the key in these. This is a perfect example of a buddy of mine, a local contractor who bought this and got a good enough deal on it. Wanted to have us look it over. Got a smoking deal on it, so that was awesome. And ended up being quite a bit of work. The axles are bad, but you know, after all said and done, he gets to rebuild them with what he wants in them. So, and then we got this bad boy over here, this Jeepster, which I'm sure the tub is going to go quickly on, because for a 68 Jeep, super clean. The frame is beautiful. Somebody had started a restoration on this and then just didn't get it finished. So, all right, lots of cool stuff. Again, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. I appreciate you taking a look at all our stuff today, and I'll keep posting. Going on 18 plus years, so thanks.